What if I told you that financial freedom's got nothing to do with how much you earn, but rather how much you keep after you've earned money? And so according to research, there is in excess of 30% of all the workforce in the UK who are living paycheck to paycheck. And that is one of the reasons why most people do not see the realization of their financial goals. And so in today's video, we're going to talk about the 7 spending habits that you must master in order for you to see the realization of your goals and to become financially free at the end of the year. And so if you're new here, my name is Nana. I hold a master's degree in business finance, and on this channel, we discuss everything personal finance and personal development. And so without further ado, we come to the first spending habit that you must master, and that is to prioritize yourself and then pay yourself first. So one of the key things that you need to know if you really want to become financially free is the fact that 1/10 of everything that you earn at the end of the month is yours to keep. So try as much as possible and then pay yourself or set aside in the form of savings or probably investment, or even having to set aside some funds into an emergency fund at the end of the month. And that would actually ensure that you're cushioned against any unforeseen circumstance that may actually drain you financially. And that is one of the hallmarks of the ultra rich. They pursue financial stability before subsequently going on to pursue financial freedom. And so one of the easiest way that you can go about it is to convince yourself and then consistently set aside 1/10 of all that you earn at the end of the month. And that would actually save you and then also increase your chances of becoming financially free altogether. That leads us to the second spending habit that you might want to master in order to see financial freedom, and that is to separate your needs from your wants. One of the easiest ways to actually get drained financially is to actually mix up your needs and your want. So for the avoidance of doubt, my wife and I actually came up with a specific definition for what our needs are. Our gas and electric, our mortgage and our rent, those things actually fall under the needs. And of course, food, water, and then anything that is likely going to sustain us or ensure the performance of our daily activities like clothing and stuff also fall under needs. Any other thing aside these things actually fall under the category of wants. And so it gives us a clear idea as to the things that we cannot cut down on or probably become spendthrift in, and then try as much as possible to also focus on the all-important stuff that would actually ensure the performance of our daily activities, and of course steering us generally towards the attainment of any goal that we set for ourselves. And so what you need to know is that you need to try as much as possible and then give a definition to what you actually categorize as needs and what you actually categorize as wants, and then cut down on all those discretionary or the things that might not necessarily sustain you at the end of the month. And that is one of the easiest ways to ensure that you have enough left at the end of the month to save or probably to invest, which also increase your chances of becoming financially free. That leads us to the third spending habit that you might want to master in order to become financially free, and that is to track every dollar. One of the easiest ways for you to actually miss your financial goals is to not know where your money is coming from, but more importantly, where that money is going. And so a fair idea of you having to sit down and then informing yourself as to what you're spending on or where your money is actually going at the end of the month would actually inform you and help you subsequently to also take control of your finances altogether. And so one of the easiest way that you can go about this is to sit down, open your banking app. These days, most banking apps actually grant you the ability to go through all your expenses, and it can categorize all those expenses under, food, maybe transport, needs or wants, entertainment, and that helps to give you a fair idea as to what you're spending on. If you think that at the end of the month you're expending too much on transport, then you might actually try as much as possible to consider some alternatives that can help you to also save. And for instance, if you think you're spending so much on eating out or on entertainment, and you think that that might not necessarily deliver any value to you, or that might actually hold you back insofar as the attainment of your goals is concerned, then that might be the time for you to actually try as much as possible to cut down on all those expenses. But a fair idea of these things would actually grant you the ability and of course the control to make the right decisions and then ensure that you have enough left at the end of the month to save and to invest. That leads us to the fourth spending habit that we might want to master in order to see our financial goals realized, and that is to actually buy value and not status. So one of the easiest ways to actually miss your financial goals at the end of the year is to buy status and not value. That is, you buy things to seek external validation, or simply because it is a trend and everyone is getting the latest iPhone, you actually get on, or you hop onto the trend and then get the latest iPhone, knowing very well that that would come at a cost, or you probably have to slap that expense on your credit card, which also after some years also accrue some level of interest, thereby straining you financially. And so one of the easiest ways to go about pursuing your financial goals is to ask yourself the simple question: this very thing that I'm buying, am I buying it just out of emotions, or this is something that is likely in the long term going to deliver some level of value to my life? That is by way of increasing your ability to earn, or increasing, your personal competence, or anything that is likely to also increase your chances of becoming successful in life altogether. So for example, you expending on something like, Amazon Audible, or anything that is likely to grant you some level of intelligence or a skill, is not something that, in my opinion, I might categorize as, a discretionary expense. That is something that delivers value to you. And so it makes sense for you to expend on those things. However, buying the latest iPhone or any gadget that actually goes on to just satisfy your ego or your emotional thirst, that would actually stop you from attaining your financial goals altogether, and thereby leaving very little for you to save and to invest at the end of the year. This brings us to the fifth spending habit that we might want to master in order to see financial freedom, and that is to ensure or embrace delayed gratification as opposed to instant gratification. So one of the easiest ways to go about this is to delay purchases, or resort to something that I call the 30-day cooling off period. So anytime that I have, something in mind to purchase, one thing that I do is I either save towards that thing, save towards that big purchase, or I actually delay the purchase by 30 days just to make sure that I'm not buying that thing out of emotions, or probably I really have the financial muscle to just buy that thing and then pay it off. If you buy now and then pay later, according to research, you're likely going to increase your expenditure by at least 60%, and that would ensure that you actually get some interest coming in, and then thereby dragging you out of your financial comfort zone altogether. So try as much as possible and then delay some of these purchases, especially if they are not needs, and that would ensure that you have the financial muscle and of course the peace of mind to pursue your goals and to stay the course towards the attainment of your financial goals. That leads us to the sixth spending habit, and that is to spend more on growth and less on consumption. And so one of the hallmarks of the ultra rich is that they try consistently to increase their ability to earn, and that they do by subjecting themselves to education. So one of the easiest ways to go about this is to try as much as possible to increase your skills, and that you can do by listening to podcasts, paying for paid courses online, and then getting people to equip you with new skills that can also lead you to diversifying your income streams altogether. Because if you're to pay someone, for example, like Ali Abdal, to teach you how to shoot, edit, and then post YouTube videos, that would actually ensure that at the end of the day, you may get monetized somewhere down the line, maybe after a couple of years or probably even months, and that also ensures your financial success altogether. And so try as much as possible to expand on things that actually ensure your growth as opposed to consumption, or things that are likely going to increase your chances of becoming financially free altogether. And so that is one thing that you may want to consider in the year 2026. That brings us to the seventh and the last spending habit that you might want to master in order to become financially free, and that is to design your life and then your budget. So one of the easiest ways to go about this is to ask yourself the simple question: what is the ideal lifestyle that I want to have, or what are the things that I really want to have in the future? And that will actually inform every single decision, every action and inaction that you actually conform to at the end of the day. And so sit down and then assess all these things, and then ask yourself the simple question: what is that life that would actually grant me the highest form of happiness, or what would actually give me a sense of purpose, and what would actually drive me to also ensure that at the end of the day I do not regret the life that I want to live. And so sitting down and assessing these things can subsequently inform you financially to also draft a budget that would actually be in consonance with whatever goals that you aspire to have. For example, if you're someone that really wants to travel the world, then there's no point actually having to save towards a mortgage or something something, you might actually prioritize traveling or, booking tickets over having to save towards a minimum deposit for a house. And so try as much as possible and then find what works for you, tweak and turn your budget, and then in accordance with whatever goal you have, you might actually come up with a plan, and that would actually ensure that you do not regret your life altogether, even as you go about the pursuit and the attainment of whatever goal that you set for yourself. And so if you found value in this video, kindly smash the like button. It really helps with the algorithm, and then consider subscribing, because I'll be shooting several videos down the line on personal finance and personal development. Thank you for spending time with us, and see you in the next video.